Good morning, Sherry. So I was just asking them where everybody was business wise and all of the things. So it sounds we have a lot of new faces that hopped on still since I even said that. But I think four clients was the most, two clients. Some are still marketing, trying to grow. So lots of brand new businesses. Sounds
And it's so I think today the topic was just how can you ensure that you're meeting those revenue goals. So you have a new business. I know for me, I didn't truly have a revenue goal. My goal is simply to get to 1,200 a month take home. So I did, but it wasn't like, it was just like a lofty, like this is my goal, but it felt very lofty. Like I didn't have, I'm going to do this by 6 months or whatnot. And I just ran with it. I actually hit the ground running and started getting that goal, which can feel very frustrating to someone who's not hitting their goals. So just hang in there with me. But what happened was, and Megan, when I jumped on, you were talking about this, like you just started taking action, just breeds results. That good action. So like pointed at action, this is what I'm doing.
yep.
And we see, I think, two different types of bookkeepers. We see a bookkeeper who's, my why is super clear. Actually, your why doesn't even have to be super clear. I'm just gonna, Megan, you're gonna hate me for saying that. My why was not clear when I got started. It was just, I'm testing this. Well, maybe it was totally an experiment though. So it wasn't like this, I'm gonna go change the world with this business. It was an experiment to see if this works. My husband was wanting to transition out of his job. And so I was like, let's just see if this marketing avenue will work. And so I just showed up and then it worked. And so I showed up more and it was gamified to me a little bit in terms of I got rewards. So I'm going to keep trying. I got rewarded. So I keep trying. I got rewarded. I keep trying. And I was able to hit my goal that way. So if you need to gamify this, let me know. We'll gamify it for you. But because I remember like I would actually, gamifying actually was a true thing. Megan, I've never told you this, but at the same time, I was playing, there's this like real estate game where you can buy up real estate in your city and you can make fake money in the game by owning real estate. And he would be playing that game while I was doing my marketing at night. And I was like, but my marketing is making me real money when his was making him like cash or not even cash in the game. It was just game money. So Megan and I, like, when we get stuck, we start to say, okay, what is our new goal? Our goal is to be bringing in one client a month. To bring in one client a month or $300 a month or $500 a month, whatever your like goal is, stay low to make it like make sense. And so to hit that goal, to get one client, we have to talk to at least one person that needs bookkeeping. So if we talk to 10 people already this month, it's the 15th. So say we've talked to 10 people, one a day during business week. We've talked to 10 people, they don't need bookkeeping. So I'm still looking for that one that does. Make sense? Or if I want $500 this month in revenue, I need to send out engagement letters at least totaling $5,000 or not 5,000. Just adding zeros. $500, right? Now, hopefully you're sending out like $1,000 worth of engagement letters to at least get that 500. But at the start, we at least have to send out 500 or you can't, it's not possible to get 500. Does that make sense? Like you can't get what you don't ask for type of mentality. If you're not finding one person that needs bookkeeping, you can't serve one person that needs bookkeeping. And I know there's a lot of Facebook groups, there's a lot of advice around running a bookkeeping business. But for most of you who are looking, because the first step is if you're replacing your full-time income, if you want to be a business owner versus doing the work, or even if you want to do the work, like we have to get, let's call it to at least 3,000 to 5,000 a month to actually make this feel like, oh, this is replacing some sort of full-time salary. For a lot of you, that's 10 to 20,000. All of that's doable. Some of you guys have bigger goals than that. Let me know in the chat if you have bigger goals than that, because that's totally possible. I just think 90% of you on the call have a goal that's probably 20,000, 3,000 to 20,000 a month. but let me know and I can speak to larger if you need. To do that, if you were to simply get one client a month, just one, especially starting out, one client a month is all you need consistently to look up in 12 months, to look up in 24 months and be like, I have just gotten a stable business. Megan and I, Megan, let me know if I can share this story about the 80 client acquisition that we heard about. Can I share that? We had someone in our circle. They weren't in the coaching business. They weren't in our program. And maybe it was before we started. It was like right around, it was a few years ago. They acquired 80 clients. They made a big fuss about it on Facebook. We saw it, we followed it. It was somewhere around it. I don't know. A lot of clients, they acquired them. We were talking to this individual later, maybe even 6 months later. They didn't have any of the clients left. Something completely fell through. So I say that what you hear on Facebook when someone's like bragging about their success may or may not be true. It may not hold as much weight as you think it holds. I also know bookkeepers who have onboarded. We have one of them as a coach, Chelsea. She onboarded, I think she's onboarded 10 clients in 1 month. Somewhere between 8 and 10 clients. If you guys want the exact number, I can let you know. And she was like, I never want to do that again. There was 1 month where she onboarded because she did a promo on Facebook. She was like, hey, if you sign this month, if you get started. And it was hard. I know for me, onboarding 5 clients a month, if it's just myself, is really hard. Now I have some help that I could utilize to get those people onboarded, and it would be no big problem. But there was 1 month where I was doing it all myself, and 5 is, ooh, I need to take a deep breath this month. This is going to be an adventure. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things to communicate. And if you don't have any automations and it's just you're manually doing everything, which is okay, can it be done? Absolutely. But you probably don't want to do that for 4 months in a row. Unless you're like, your why is super clear and you're like, until December, I am going to push so hard that I wake up January 1st and I'm leaving my job, then absolutely, as long as it's a short push, you can probably do it. So if you're like, I need 20 clients by the end of December, now's a great time to go get the 20 clients. But to build just a stable, consistent bookkeeping firm, if you can develop a marketing strategy, however you want to do it, I'm not going to push the strategy on you because I think there's a lot of really great ways that fit different personalities. 1 client a month is enough to offer stable, flexible, to allow you to run a stable, flexible business for the rest of your life. 1 client a month consistently. When you're getting started, it might be 2 to 3. It might stay 2 to 3 for the rest of your bookkeeping career. It's great. And that's maybe only talking to 15 people a month that need bookkeeping. You have 15 really good conversations, you're going to hit 2 to 3 clients because it's going to compound. So you talk to 15 people, you talk to 15 people last month, and so forth. You've done that 10 months in a row. You now have 150 people you are currently talking to about their bookkeeping. You have 30 of them, so you still have 120 people who run a business that will need bookkeeping. They might not be ready yet. They might hire someone. You might have gotten an email saying, hey, we went with someone else. I had this happen to me. So I started my email marketing. I was also on Upwork. So I had gotten someone who scheduled a call with me through Upwork. Hey, can we meet about my bookkeeping? Absolutely. That was in October. I got an email from them October, November saying, hey, we went with someone else. Great. I sent them an email saying, so glad you found someone that fits your needs. Let me know if you need anything in the future. January, I started email marketing because that was one of my goals. I told Megan, I was like, I want to accomplish this. And I started out by taking her advice of just sending, now this was her advice just on following up, but I applied it to getting started with email marketing. And I sent like January 1st or going into January 1st an email saying, hey, this is our holiday hours. Happy New Year. I'll see you XYZ date. It was as simple as that. And then I started email marketing after, like sending more regular emails after that. I didn't send a ton, guys. I think I was one a month because I really didn't have the bandwidth. It was just something I wanted to set up. It's something I wanted to do. So I didn't send that many. It would be embarrassing at how little I can commit sometimes to what I do. One a month. They sent me an email in April and they signed at a higher rate than I quoted them in October because their bookkeeper couldn't handle it. But I then was able to get into their books and say, oh, you didn't tell me everything. Like, which totally happens. I sent them a higher quote and they signed on the spot. So that was October to April. That's what, 6 months later? So I say that just because like when you're talking to 15 people a month, just 15. So that's one every other day. You're just looking to make a connection, get their business, however you're doing it. You run a business, you're either doing your bookkeeping in QuickBooks or you have an active bookkeeper doing your books in QuickBooks, meaning they're a potential client in the next 5 years, right? Allie, I said 5 years, it could be 3, but I also know the last 2 clients I onboarded had their bookkeepers for 10 years. 10 years. And they both just happened to be like, in a 6-month span, need another option. A lot has changed in 10 years in QuickBooks world, in just how things operate. Life changes in 10 years. So their bookkeeper might retire. Their bookkeeper, if you could outlast, I've got another story. But anyway, 15 real conversations, Megan, tell me if I'm wrong, should easily yield 2 to 3. And really good conversations, like they need a bookkeeper. Or they're in QuickBooks Online. They're like really running a business and they're not just starting a business. It's not just, oh yeah, I want to do Etsy. I just opened my shop and I'm going to try it for a year. I want them to be, oh my gosh, I'm in Etsy. It's taking off. It's such a blessing. I've hit the ground running. They're going to need a bookkeeper. They probably already need a bookkeeper, but they don't know it yet. I want to be marketing to that person, and or I want conversations of, I don't know where I stand. If I had known where I stand, I would have hired someone, like chaos types of conversations. Like I want to know where they're at with bookkeeping. The other story I was going to share that popped to mind, and I think I have found this to be true since high school. Like I learned this in high school and it is true like across the board. Sometimes all you have to do is outlast another person. So Megan said, earlier that she decided to 10x her marketing. So she went with quantity, probably over quality. Like she wasn't creating, and this is not an insult at all to anyone here doing that. She wasn't creating a bunch of videos that were heavily edited and had B-roll in it and all of these things when she got started. She was simply just sharing another post. She wasn't spending hours like contemplating, should I say this or should I say that? Should it be look this way? Should it look that way? So it wasn't like she put in hours upon hours of work on one post. She just put hours in to put multiple posts. So she did quantity, right? And she outlasted so many people. I have seen her business outlive other bookkeepers. And how many bookkeepers have shut their door that you've seen since you've started? That at the same time, sometimes you just have to outlast. You have to be stronger, willing to run the marathon and not just the sprint. And that applies to follow-ups, that applies to your marketing, that applies to doing the work well. You have to outlast the other person. We see this with bookkeepers who are closing their doors because they want to shift what they're doing. And so now they're like, I've got 5-10 clients. Can someone please take them? I need out. I'm done. And as you make connections with other bookkeepers, so it is important to make connections because they're going to start to trust you. And when they're ready to shut their doors, your door is open. but that takes outliving, that takes us making this a 10-year plan, not just a 6-month plan. I'm going to hope to see it's work. This is going to work because I'm going to put in the effort. It can't not work then. And that's how mine grew, was I was daily putting in the effort. And I technically didn't want a bookkeeping business, but I kept showing up. I kept putting in the effort, and it was something I was good at, or some of you are like, but I'm not good at it. I'm new. If you enjoy serving people and solving problems, you can show up in bookkeeping space and solve their problems. That is your mission. That is your goal ultimately. So we need to find 15 people a month, 10 people a month, maybe. If you're really just getting started, let's just try 10 business owners. And in that 10, for a few months, you're going to be figuring out what type of business owner are you looking for. I know that was a big thing for me, Megan. When I started, I was like, am I looking for this real estate agent? Am I looking for this? And it wasn't so much, are they a real estate agent or are they in some other real business? Because real estate agents don't need a lot of bookkeeping. And they're
I know one thing when I started, like you saying that, uh, and I'm sure a lot of y'all are there, you always see everybody's niche down. What's your ideal client? I'm like, I've never had a client. I've never done bookkeeping. I have no idea what any of that even means. So it feels like it's scary and like overwhelming. And like, how can I get a client if I don't know what my ideal client is, or I don't know what to niche down to? Cynthia hearted it. So I'm assuming you feel that, Cynthia. But like it's okay to not niche down. It's okay to not know what that is to start off with. Because I can tell you who I thought, because everybody's like, do these exercises, figure out your ideal client, what's the type of person, like who I thought that person was, or even my niche was when I started my business, is not who that person is now 5 years later. Like it's changed. And there's even been niches where it's like, oh, I really want to work with this industry. And then I get a client and it's like, no, I don't want another client like that at all.
I was just talking to someone, one of our students, they have taken on a few e-commerce clients. And they're like, I love e-commerce clients now, because it finally clicked. They're now in a position where they can serve them. And then we have someone who just fell into a coaching niche because she got one client connected to a lot of coaches. Cynthia, you also unmuted. What were you going to share?
Yeah, it's very difficult to make a decision about what you like when you've never done it before.
Exactly.
You know,
It really is.
I like doing the books. I do the books for my church, but it's a different type of bookkeeping than maybe I would do for somebody who's a solo. So I want to experience a little bit of everything so I'll know where I want to land.
Yep. And I think that's okay. I think the reason a lot of people push the niche just to see like the sides of it is because it's hard for people to know where to market, where to find potential clients and stuff like that. So it's okay. This kind of gives you an area to focus. They're hanging out in these spots, those sort of things, which I get and understand. But a lot of times it's like you freeze up and you're like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know what kind of clients I'm going to market. So I'm just going to sit here and not do anything because I'm so overwhelmed with it. And that's 100% understandable.
I think while you're under 6 figures, it can almost be really silly to niche, because niching will slow you down. Niching does one of two things. It's, as Megan just said, it slows people down, or it pushes you forward. But it only pushes you forward if you have enough conversations to land in like a hot pot of all of these people need bookkeeping. I use the example. I'm going to actually share the link to this book as well. You guys have heard me talk about Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. One of the reasons I like this book is there's a story in it that's related to all of you. And it's a bookkeeper. You can find her on YouTube. She doesn't have a YouTube channel, but she's done some interviews talking about this Clockwork specific story. And what happened was she was working on growing her business. All right, I'm posting it. And she happened to get on a podcast for e-commerce owners. So she was interviewed on this podcast. She got to present and in essence say, here's what I do, here's how I help, here's what you should be doing. She gave an invitation. So if you do a podcast, typically the last 5 minutes you get to plug yourself. The first 55 minutes is intros and just serving the audience, right? The last 5 minutes, you're going to plug yourself. She plugged herself, got back to her email, and she had over, I'm going to botch the story. It's been a while since I've read it. She had way too many inquiries of, I want to start that 80 client example. She panicked. She called Mike Michalowicz and was like, oh, what do I do? Because I think she was consulting with Mike Michalowicz. What do I do? I cannot possibly onboard this many people. I can't even do this many discovery calls. Like, it will not happen. He's okay, I'm boarding a plane. When I get off, I'm gonna think about it while I'm on the plane. I will call you. Okay, great. And sometimes you guys feel like this when you talk to just one person, so you can relate with her stress a little bit. Okay, and Megan, I know you can with your first discovery call. Oh my gosh, I even want to, like, it's happening.
Right.
Moment. And so Mike calls her back and says, okay, let's do this. They sent an email to everyone saying, thank you so much for your inquiry. Our average client pays us about $850 a month. If you're okay with that, book a call here. And that weeded out a half of the people. She still onboarded 30 to 40 people from that one. Okay, so niching can be good, but until you're familiar with e-commerce, until you're familiar with real estate, it's really helpful, especially for new bookkeepers. I think the idea of niching is, okay, yeah, you're an accountant. You already know what you're good at. You already know the industries that you want to serve because you know the accounting in that area. So if you think about GAAP accounting, which is what the United States is based in, whereas like overseas is IFRS, so International Financial Reporting Standards. US applies GAAP. GAAP can apply differently to different industries. It's going to be executed differently. So if you have a niche that does a lot of lease accounting, you have to know lease accounting. And so when you're an accountant growing a firm formally, so think CPAs, think formal accountants, or like when I went to school, like I picked up specific industry related issues. So inventory management, inventory audits, inventory counts, like I audited those things. Niching is really good in those instances, but to the new bookkeeper, especially if they're under 6 figures, they're learning the world of accounting, they're learning bookkeeping, I think it really slows you down because you don't know what you don't know. And every single one of you on this call, I would argue, Megan, has at least one niche. But you are at least niched into the accounting software you're doing. You can be niched in the demographic you serve. Maybe you only serve your state. Because like when I was in Arizona, the only sales tax that I would dare touch was Arizona because I at least knew it, because I learned it in corporate. If I had not learned Arizona sales tax in corporate, I would not touch a bookkeeping, like a sales tax client, over my dead body. I hope that's okay to say on a podcast, and I don't touch other states' sales tax. I will not take that on as a service because I think there's a lot of liability and I just don't know their laws. There's a lot of things I see when people do Arizona sales tax that they actually get wrong because they simply don't know that they're required to do it a certain way. And you do that by learning. You do that by learning the state, reading the regulations, reading the rules. So I will not touch sales tax in any other state. They can go through like tax jar. There's another one. It starts with an A that I will botch the name, so I don't even bother.
Avalara.
So those two, like, they're third parties that are like designed to track. Do they have nexus? Have they hit a certain milestone that require them to file sales tax? Then they actually know how to file the sales tax and to hit all the buttons and fill in all the blanks. And just because I know Arizona, I know a lot of people miss some of the filling in that's required. So I just don't touch. I don't touch what I don't know. But I know bookkeeping and I know QuickBooks, right? I also know other softwares. I know Microsoft Dynamics and Xero and desktop. I'm getting weaker in desktop. I've had clients in Odoo. I've had clients in Wave. Megan's had some clients in Wave. I have not had any clients in FreshBooks, but like the software itself can be a niche. I know I started getting a lot of requests from the software called Odoo, and it's an open source software. So anyone who's, this is going to sound really bad, but especially to the people who are like, the government's in every hands and corporations, and I would rather support like open source type software, Odoo is a good place for that. And so I got listed on their website, and I was getting a lot of inquiries, but I decided I didn't want to niche into that software, because if you don't set it up, it doesn't work. And I am not I can only go so far with coding and setting up. So thank you, Allie, for doing that every day now, because I can take it so far. And then I think I just lose interest in trying after a certain point, because it's like learning a new language and I'm just done. So if you have coding experience, there's a niche for you. So you all have a niche. You're looking for a business owner who's using or is interested in using QuickBooks Online. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys are signed up for next Tuesday's call, but hot tip, for instance, if you're trying to figure out, okay, who, and Allie just posted the link, and we can always talk more about this in the VIP section if you are interested in that. But as an example, you're like, I don't even know feel free to raise your hand. I don't even know where to talk to business owners. I don't know where to find them. We've heard that said a lot in the last 3 months. I don't even know where to find call it warm body that is a business owner. We want to call them out. Do you use QuickBooks in your post? Are you interested in using QuickBooks? Doing a poll, do you love or hate QuickBooks? That would be an easy post, but you could take it so far as, if you're doing email marketing, doing a quiz. And the quiz could be, are you in the right accounting software? And then you would ask them questions that helps them know, is QuickBooks right for you? If QuickBooks is right for them, you would prompt them to sign up with you and then walk them through a funnel. Man, I'm probably I want to do this quiz now. The things I come up with on the fly. But we want to call them out. Are you in the right software for you? If they're in Wave, but they have AR, it might not be the right fit. Right? Or if they're invoicing or whatnot, or are they on the right level of QuickBooks subscription? Is their bookkeeper serving them well? What type of questions get them to raise their hand? Oh, wait, you're talking, what? That's a thing? You want them to interact on your post. So it's always just about, is your chart of accounts set up correctly? Guys, most business owners accounts mean, and they'll tell you, oh, you're using fancy terminology. And I wish I was kidding.
No, yeah, definitely not. Look, I'll say this, the more as y'all are having conversations with business owners, notice the terminology that they are using about those things. Every once in a while, you'll run into one who has an accounting background who will throw around liabilities, assets, like all that stuff, or they heard it from somewhere, so they're throwing it around. But notice the terminology that they're using, notice the pain points that they're saying, and use that stuff in your marketing, because that'll go a very long way. Because I've had so many business owners tell me that I don't have an accounting background. I learned the bookkeeping and started my business like all at the same time. So a lot of when I tell them, it might not be like the proper terminology if you went and talked to somebody with an accounting degree or whatever is going to say. And not that I'm using improper terms, but it feels like I'm more relatable to them. They have made that comment to me so many different times because I'm speaking a language they're familiar with. And some of it is partially because that's how I was taught. That's how I understand. I want to know all the things. Like if you threw liability and asset at me, and I had never had my bookkeeping business before, I didn't know what that meant. They don't either a lot of times. They didn't get in business to do bookkeeping.
Unless they're a bookkeeper. They did not. Some of them are like, oh, I come from corporate. I decided to start this business. And again, actually, you had an example this morning. They think they know. I've encountered business owners too that they think they know how the process is supposed to work because they submitted expense reports, they submitted receipts. They think they know.
Nope.
You're like, that's cute. Good job.
Yeah.
But like we know where they're coming from, or And I have worked in those environments where like you have an operations manager who is in charge of making sure all of their team submits their expense receipts for their WEX cards or employee cards or whatever. You have the person who was only accounts payable. So they know the accounts payable side. You had someone who is only accounts receivable, or you have a staff accountant who's only expenses. And so that's the profit and loss, and they don't understand the balance sheet. You have to, as a bookkeeper, learn both the balance sheet and the profit and loss and how they work together. And we have a whole training on how all of the financial statements work together in like layman's terms for you. I love the fact that I relate to Megan in terms of terminology. I have a theology degree. I have a master's in accounting. However, the people I talk to, terminology like is just, it's not important to me. The concept is important to me. And so I've got the same feedback. Oh, hey, you sound more than capable, but I understand you. It sometimes cracks me up though. Like every now and again, I'll say P&L or CPA, and they're like, "You're using terminology that's over my head."
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Because I use P&L in language all the time, and P&L is not language that a lot of your business owners are going to understand. They're going to understand your expense, like your categories of all your expenses. Like I'm going to send you a report of that. Your P&L, which is a summary of all of your monthly expenses. Like we really do have to lead with that. So a good social media post might be, does your bookkeeper use terminology you just act like you understand? If you're doing a short video, Megan.
I'm gonna write that idea down.
I can come up with more than I actually implement in life, guys. This is why I need a shirt that says I make people money. I'm an idea generator. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. If we want $500, the whole goal of this was to point out we do need, if our goal is $500 a month, we do at least minimally have to send out $500 worth of quotes. We have to ask for it, or we can't get there. I would recommend sending out more than 500 if you do want 500, but you at least have to send out 500 to even hope to meet that goal. This is why I love our 5-day marketing challenge, because it physically adds up in total how much you've quoted or how much value you have.
Yep, definitely. So I just wanted to that comment you made, just remind, so we just finished Fear is Not the Boss of You in the paid group. And one of the last quotes that she said was, God cannot steer a parked car. And that is so true. So that $500 is your goal. Like clients are not just going to fall in your lap. Like you have to be doing something, having the conversations for it to happen. So it's not because it's not meant to be or whatever, but like you have to be in motion doing something as well.
Yeah. We have a theme here that action breeds action, which might sound pretty odd, but like action breeds some sort of action, even if it's just calling up, like getting on a one-to-one saying, or what's my next step? Attending the VIP session or the masterclass next week. What is my plan? And I'm going to execute this plan for the next 30 days. And that's entirely what next week is for. In motion, 10X's, 10X yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. And sometimes that also might be 10X the effort. So earlier I said quantity versus quality. If you're really skilled at doing like complicated videos or something or training videos or whatnot, you might just need to 10X the effort on what you put out.
Yeah.
But as you're learning, 10X the quantity is enough. Don't make it complicated so you don't stop, right?
Yeah, don't show up and do something for sure. I was going to say something else and I forgot. Sorry.
Was it about effort, quantity, quality? I was trying to think of words I said. But an object in motion, and that would be true. I don't know if any of you are. I know for me, when I started, it was, so again, I started on Upwork. I'm not currently on Upwork, but I still think, I still get inquiries from Upwork, which is really nice. But when I said I gamified it, 3 to 5 a day. So I would respond to 3 or 5 people saying, hey, I'm looking for this. And I would respond saying, hey, I can serve you in XYZ. I have a whole format of exactly what I did. And I used that model to 4x my income in 3 months. So I took it from like 3,000 a month to just, it was about 12,000 at the end of that 3-month period. Lots of cleanups, lots of chaos. I don't recommend that, but if you're like, I need to quit my job before December, that would be one of the things I would do. I would just get as many quotes out there as I possibly could. Because if you want to hit 12,000, can you get $120,000 worth of quotes out into the world? That would be 10x, right? But
Yeah,
I don't
and
just to stop someone, but like 10x the effort.
And remember, like, you're dealing with people's finances, so they have to know and trust you to be able to hand them over. So, like, when you're doing the posts, when you're doing the marketing, how can you help people get to know you? So, is that some in-person networking, going face to face, because that gains trust? Is it doing some videos and showing up? Is it being real on social media? We talk about that all the time, like you not putting on a show and because I posted this, y'all want to go post it. No, what interests you? What kind of people do you want to attract? Definitely keep that in mind too.
I think we're at time. If you have a question that you didn't get to ask, feel free to ask it real quick and we'll stay on to answer it. And then we'll hop off and let you guys enjoy your weekend. We're both looking forward to, right, we're all looking forward to Megan, Allie, next Tuesday, just because it's really fun to explore other options when it comes to marketing, especially if you're stuck. I think this is one of the best ways I get myself unstuck is I evaluate my process and I say, what is fun? I actually got one of my first clients in 2015. She was more like an employer, but my first ever freelance bookkeeper came because I said, I'm looking for something fun. And as an accountant, accountants aren't perceived as fun. And so she was like, you're hired, because that was really early on in the coaching. She was a coach really early on. She was a relationship coach. And I learned a lot from just working around her, but it should be fun, especially if you're going to commit the next 10 years to something. You have full permission to make it fun.
Yep.
So
yeah, at the end of the day, this is your business. You can do what you want.
Richard says, how long do you try an approach until you decide to pivot? I don't know if it's go ahead, Megan. I've got 2 thoughts.
No, I was going to say that. I was going to say, I don't know if it's specifically, I think it depends on how long, but how much effort are you putting in? And are you doing all of the things that go along with that? Because Facebook, okay, if you're just posting on Facebook, and you do it for 90 days, you might not get any traction because there's so many other pieces that go along with that puzzle. So I think if you're doing all of the pieces and giving it like your full effort, I would say a good 60 to 90 days, you should be having conversations, getting quotes out. It took me 2 weeks, I think, before I had the first person reach out of marketing 5 to 10 times a day.
Same. So my brain just went blank. What is the guy who just did, I can't even believe, Allie, you'll know who I'm talking about. Megan, you will too. Beard guy, gym owner, entrepreneur, just made a splash. What is his name?
Alex Ramosi.
Thank you.
Oh.
I was like, I don't know why I just drew a blank. He did a video.
I didn't know he was a gym owner.
Supplement. That's how he got to start. He started. Yeah. Anyway.
I did not realize that.
Thank you so much for that name. He did a video probably a year ago on YouTube, and he's talking about marketing effort. All of his stuff is really good if you're looking for additional marketing, like mindset help, like some of his perspective. But he was talking about postcards, and I think someone maybe told him to do postcards in the video. I would have to go back and rewatch it to get all the details. But let's say he just sent out 300 postcards. And he goes back to the person and says, I tried it, it didn't work. So the guy's like, how many did you send out? 300 a day? And he's like, a month. So sometimes it's not how long, it's how much effort did we actually put into something. But if you do not start getting conversations in the first 30 days, we really need to look at the process before we wait till 90. If you're not getting conversations, I would say in the first 15 days, if you're at 15 days and you've gotten I would check in at 15 days. but I wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily say, oh, that didn't work for me. I wouldn't spend 15 days on Upwork and say, oh, that didn't work for me. Let's make sure we're refining the process, because the work that you've already been doing in the 15 days is like, we don't want to just waste it. And every time you start over, you're wasting any traction you did get. So we just want to double down and make sure, oh, I should have been sending 300 a day, not 300 a month. Okay, now I can make that shift. It might not have been anything I was doing with the postcards. I just didn't send enough. The quality of the conversation, when I say it, did I make a connection with the business owners? I don't care if you say, I'm going to call every business in a 5-mile radius from me today, this week. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm a bookkeeper in the area. I just wanted to reach out, see how bookkeeping was going, get to know you. Would you mind if I dropped by and said hi, or would you mind if I send you a follow-up email? Yeah, great, no problem. I would put that on the CRM tracker we have in the five-day marketing challenge. But unless he came back and was really having a conversation with you about, oh yeah, this is where I'm struggling, my bookkeeper isn't doing a good job. If it was just, oh yeah, you can send me a new email. Okay, gotta go, bye. It would be part of the 100 conversations I typically say to have. But as far as getting down to the 10, 15, we want them to reciprocate on the conversation. I don't care who initiates. Does that, Megan, let me know if you would correct me on any of that.
I definitely agree. Because you can have conversations all day long where you're reaching out and DMing whatever, and either they're not responding or it's going nowhere or whatever. But you want them to like genuinely be interested in bookkeeping services from you. You don't even, I wouldn't even say specifically have to give them a quote, but are you having enough of a conversation where you're talking about that they need services, or are you the person to provide those sort of things? For sure.
I exclude pitches altogether. So if someone's, hey, I want to network with you, which is code for let me sell you something. Like, I don't count those. I've gotten on a lot of those Zoom calls. Sometimes they can connect me with someone, so I can still take them. I would say yes to if you're talking to, let's say, a real estate broker, and they're like, you do bookkeeping? My agents need a bookkeeper. You guys start talking about S corps and should they be one, should they not, and whether or not they should or shouldn't, because guys, not everyone should be an S corp, but a lot of people should be. Can you do a lunch and learn? And they're like, oh, can you come do a lunch and learn? Can you talk about the need to track mileage and separate these gifts and stuff that they're buying? That's a conversation because it's getting you in the door. So that is an opportunity. So we're seeking opportunities. Can we get 10 to 15 opportunities a month? That might take 100 to 300 conversations. And Megan's going to cringe that I just said that, because you guys shy away. Touch points. It might take 100 to 300 touch points to get down to those 10 to 15. But it's just really good conversations.
That's what we're here for. We want to help y'all as much as we can. So if that means hopping on a one-to-one and role playing some of these conversations with potential clients, let's do it. Whatever it takes.
Sounds good. We'll let you guys get off.
All right. Y'all have an awesome weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.